Let's kick this off. Let's get it started. The big news this week was ESPN and WWE entering a rights agreement for WWE PLEs. Oh, you think a PLE is a premium live event? No, it's a Paul Levesque entertainment is what it is. Always call it pretty lame events. Sure, but in our house here, premium live event, pretty lame event and Paul Levesque entertainment are synonymous. So this really came out of nowhere on Wednesday, yesterday, as I'm recording this on August the 7th. It really came out of nowhere. ESPN, WWE reached landmark agreement as ESPN platforms become exclusive U.S. domestic home of all WWE premium live events, including WrestleMania, starting in 2026. I'm reading the press release here. ESPN's direct-to-consumer service stream all WWE premium live events in their entirety, including WrestleMania, Royal Rumble, SummerSlam, Survivor Series, Money in the Bank, and more. So I don't necessarily want to go through the entire press release. I don't want to break it all down, but I do want to break it down, but I don't want to read it. Here's the big notes here. Okay, all of this streaming is going to be on ESPN's, as we mentioned, direct-to-consumer platform. Oh, you mean ESPN Plus, Warren? No. ESPN is going to be launching a brand new service very shortly, right? In the US, of course. This is all US based. They're going to be launching this service, which is going to be like this one-stop shop for all sports streaming events that ESPN will have licensed. So everything that's going on in the that will be going on in the ESPN universe is going to end up on that platform, and they're launching that fairly soon, and they're calling it ESPN. Okay, so it's going to get a little confusing at times when we're going to be talking about all of this, because you're going to have ESPN the company, you're going to have ESPN the network, and you're going to have ESPN the streaming service, not ESPN Plus. ESPN, I know what you're thinking, but it's not ESPN Plus, and it's not going to have another name. They're not calling it ESPN Max or whatever. It's just like ESPN. And all WWE PLEs will stream in their entirety on the service. And there are, as they mentioned, select PLEs that may also air on ESPN linear. So ESPN, the network, the cable network. Which ones? So look, basically what that means is that you will have, on occasion, select some of the PLEs are going to be on cable television, like straight up. No one having to pay nothing. You'll just be able to flip on, well, outside of your cable bill, of course, but just be able to flip on your TV and then you'll watch. Oh yeah. Like for instance, WrestleMania, which actually makes a lot of sense. WrestleMania could end up being, viewed on cable TV, which would be bonkers, but this is where we are. And it actually makes a lot of sense because, correct me if I'm wrong, sports fans, but in April, there's really not much going on as far as big sporting events, right? Football season's done. The NBA isn't quite, we're not in finals yet, if I'm not mistaken, or I could be mistaken, but I don't think so. March Madness is out of the way. Maybe the NHL, but I don't think I don't think the NHL is going to make any kind of dent here. If you ask me, WrestleMania in April showing up on cable actually be beneficial. What a rhyme. What a fucking rhyme I just dropped. WrestleMania in April showing up on cable could be beneficial. Look, I know you're all sitting or standing or whatever you're doing right now, but whatever you're doing, you've stopped. You've stopped doing whatever you're doing. And I know you just stared at your YouTube screen and you're like, "Oh my God. This guy. What lyrical mastery." And I know, like, I'm even taken aback at how effortless it was. It just came to me. It was inspiration. I was overcome by the three muses at once. Mentioned WrestleMania, Royal Rumble, SummerSlam, Survivor Series, Money in the Bank. These are all mentioned by name. Right? These are all mentioned by name in the press release. Could there be others? Could they add Backlash? Could they add Bad Blood? Could they, whatever? Sure, because they did say, not they said, but if I'm not mistaken, it is our boy Nick Khan here, who never gets tired, said that WWE is going to present 10 PLEs a year in this deal. He said this in an interview. This is not covered in the press release, but he did say this in an interview the next day or the same day on the Puck with John Oran. And he said, as this is the quote right here, "These things could always grow, but it's going to start as 10 events, but 12 nights." What? How does that work? Well, because WrestleMania and SummerSlam now clearly are going to be established as being 2-night events. So you get 2 extra nights. So 12 events, but 10 events, but 12 nights. WWE has hosted a similar number of PLEs in recent years. When excluding TV specials or web specials, WWE has announced or held 11 PLEs this year. 12 PLEs took place in 2024. Another note here in this release is that WWE will continue to produce all premium live events, and and ESPN will also be able to stream pre and post event shows. So ESPN on their own, like not unlike the basketball shows and all that, whatever. I don't know. I know what they are. I just can't name them because they don't. It doesn't mean anything to me. Like Inside Baseball, is that still a thing? Is Inside Baseball still a thing? What's the show with Barkley and what's his name? The big guy. I'm drawing complete and utter blanks. This is ridiculous. So, they could produce those on their own, like not necessarily WWE produced pre-shows and whatnot. So, inside the NBA, thank you, Kelly. Thank goodness you're here to, save the day. So essentially, they'll be able to do those types of roundtable discussions, which I really don't understand. Because they're all going to be in kayfabe. Like, I like me a good post show or a good recap, but not when you're in kayfabe, right? I don't know why anyone, and it's the case even right now with the WWE pre-shows and whatnot. I don't know why anyone, sort of slaps their hands together and rubs them together and go, all right, it's 4 p.m. I'm going to sit down and I'm going to see what Sam Roberts and Big E have to say about this upcoming show. What are their thoughts? What are their crispy thoughts here on what's going to come up here? What are their big predictions? This is all scripted. It's like, it doesn't matter. Getting big previews and stuff like that. It's so dumb. It really is dumb. It's like, so those are the big portrait, big picture things. To give you a little bit of context, In the US right now, Peacock, which is currently the home of WWE, it has its PLE deals. It currently has the deal to hold on to the PLEs until the ESPN deal starts, and I believe it's in March 2026. I think that's when the transfer of power will happen. And this, keep in mind, for those of you who are not, locked within the United States of America, the rest of the world will continue to have all of WWE's programming available on WWE on Netflix. Excuse me. What am I talking about? I'm going nuts here. Netflix is going to continue broadcasting everything. So for the rest of the world, it's still a one-stop shop, and for everyone else, well, then it gets a little more. Then it gets a little more dicey. It gets a little more dicey. Going up for Peacock, I did see that. I don't know if this is coincidental to try and make up for the loss. We'll keep talking about that. Dynamics of Renee, RJ, and Double J. Renee and RJ are fantastic, quite frankly, if we're doing the comparisons with AEW. But I still don't, I can't listen to that stuff. It's like, so Jeff, who do you think is going to win tonight? Hangman Adam Page or Mox? It's like it's just kayfabe analysis. Again, like if they, like, I know they can do this on their own programming. It wouldn't make sense, but if anyone does a pre-show where we're digging in, we're doing previews, like I sometimes do, and you dig in and you think about the analysis and everything that's been going on and what are the projected, what's the, how did the feud go? How the vibes are? How do we feel about this person's strength and drawing and whatnot? If you start breaking all of that down, then it starts getting interesting. But kayfabe pre-shows and breakdowns, it's like, well, it's not for me. It's definitely not for me, right? Boris, nice to see you. Welcome to the chat. They're going to run ads during PLE matches. Oh God, they're going to run ads as much as they can. What are we talking about? That's not even, is that even up for debate? WWE/TKO not having an opportunity to run an ad? Well, let's get real here. Of course they are. It's going to be up and down, and it's going to be so frustrating for everyone watching it. It's going to, like, this is the new norm for world wrestling entertainment. So all in all, that's what we got out of the press release. And like was mentioned in the chat earlier, a pretty bare bones type of approach here. It wasn't exactly super exciting, right? Now, at an article shortly thereafter from the Wall Street Journal that gave us some extra little insight here, some extra little juicy details. I shouldn't do that into a microphone. I apologize. Disney's ESPN is paying $1.6 billion for U.S. streaming rights to WWE's Paul Levesque events over 5 years, starting in 2026. So that equates to $325 million per year. It's a significant increase over WWE's current 5-year deal with Peacock, which was reportedly worth at $180 million a year, which was a 5-year deal, like we said, so $900 million, right? Which was short of the $1 billion that WWE had said that the deal was worth. Because, WWE, when they do their earnings call, they like to give out figures for entertainment purposes, just like Vince used to say, right? Here's the info for that we got here. Oh wait, no, this is for the bid. This is something else. No, I'm jumping ahead here. So I'm sorry, folks. I'll stay focused. But I jumped ahead here a little bit. I apologize for that. So as we said, also it was confirmed in the article from the Wall Street Journal that the ESPN streaming service would be at $30 a month and would be launching this fall, whatever that means specifically. They said it would be launching this fall, and there would be select events that will be simulcast on ESPN's linear TV. So the article points out that the WWE deal is seen as a major content driver to boost ESPN's direct-to-consumer strategy and attract subscribers at launch. This, of course, follows, as we mentioned, the deal with Netflix. Just to remind each other, 10 years with Netflix, $5 billion plus, Raw, only Raw, which everyone is saying, TKO, Netflix, the Wall Street Journal saying it's performing well for the platform, even though a lot of us wrestling fans are looking at this and like, these are underwhelming numbers to what WWE was doing on Fox, on cable. Netflix is happy. Well, good for them. There are connections to be made here with ESPN and TKO because they already have an existing partnership, right? Which is currently valued at $300 million a year. And that deal expires at the end of 2025. And the renewal, well, is expected to be more expensive. TKO is going to be asking for more money, which will surprise no one. ESPN right now, what they're doing before launching their new service, they're going on a tear. They're going on a tear to lock down as many deals as possible so that they can have, the most alluring platform possible so that people will subscribe, will give their $30 to it. In the weeks leading up to this, they struck a major deal with the NFL. I don't know if you heard this. They struck a major deal with the NFL to get some content there. But here's the interesting part. The NFL, in return for the games and whatnot and the rights, they were given, I should say, a 10% stake in ESPN. And I believe it's a 10% stake in ESPN, the company, not ESPN, the streaming service, ESPN, the company. This is kind of wild, if you ask me, where you have, a sports organization network whose job is to cover like sporting organizations right now. This is going to create, to a degree, a certain conflict of interest, but no one cares anymore about conflict of interest, apparently, because how do we expect then ESPN to fairly cover the NFL, especially if there's, turmoil that happens, whatever, how do we expect them to cover the NFL fairly if the NFL owns 10% of the outlet, right? How is that going to affect their news coverage? There's nothing good that's going to come out of this. There's nothing good that comes out of this. So that was an interesting little extra little thing here. WWE has its content has proven effective for streamers in reducing churn and ensuring subscriber loyalty. That's something that they've seen. That was something that was crucial with Peacock's early growth. So that's going to be nonetheless. So that's, I guess, something that ESPN is also banking on for the new streaming service, hoping that lots of people then come in and join, right? And join the service from day one. Now, the stream will cover, like we said, PLEs, all the PLEs, and you might even get them on cable. And then you get all of the other sports as well within the ESPN, under the ESPN banner, everything that they have licenses for. And it's $30 a month. And people are like, oh shit, this is going to be an extra $30 to watch WWE. Well, yes and no, it depends. Because it was also later revealed that if you had that ESPN was going to be offered to people who had, cable packages as well. So you wouldn't have to outright pay you wouldn't have to outright pay for the streaming service if you're already a subscriber to a cable service. They would include that would be bundled within your cable service, of course, as long as you have ESPN, right? If you have ESPN in your cable service, in your cable package, then you'll have ESPN, the streaming service, included in that. But if you don't, if you're a cord cutter, if you're whatever, then you're going to have to shell out the $30. So a lot of people say, oh, well, that's not so bad. And quite honestly, I'm like, yeah, you know what? That doesn't seem so terrible. So I'm not gonna throw it up on screen because it's on the WrestleNomics paywall. So I want to be respectful of that. But I'll read it out here. I'll read it out, at least the bits that interest us. Brandon Thurston did a little digging to discover that it will not be all cable carriers who will automatically get access to WWE PLEs on ESPN's new streaming platform. There will some that will be. Some will be, some will not. Let me read the bit of his article here. According to a person familiar with the agreement, only customers of the following providers will be granted access to the PLEs through the ESPN app at no additional cost. Charter, which is Spectrum, DirecTV, Fubo TV, Hulu Live TV, and Verizon Fios. Customers who access ESPN through other major systems not named above, and that includes Comcast Xfinity, YouTube TV, Dish, Sling, Altus, Cogeco, Frontier, and Cable One, will need to subscribe separately to ESPN's new streaming service to access WWE's premium events beginning in 2026. So out the gate, when ESPN Plus launches this fall, they won't even cover it won't even cover all of the cable systems. And I read an article today off of CNBC, basically following up on what Brandon dug up here, that dug a little deeper, talked to people at Disney, ESPN, to say that, well, everyone eventually will get the ESPN bundled into their cable package if they have ESPN, of course, already included in the cable package. So that will be added like down the line, basically saying that they're still negotiating with other carriers. They're negotiating with Comcast and Dish, and Sling and so on and so forth, and YouTube TV. They're all negotiating still. So not everyone's going to have access to it from day one, but eventually they say, but that also means like that's concordant that they're able to reach agreements in these negotiations. You really get the feeling that this is something that was done really quickly, very fucking last minute, at least for these types of operations, and they're just scrambling to put all the pieces together. It really gives off that vibe, don't you think? It gives me that vibe anyway. That because look, Brandon gave an outline here of how much people this could affect, right? Not having access to ESPN Plus within their cable package. According to our tracking of the paid TV universe, Charter, DirecTV, Fubo TV, Hulu Live TV, and Verizon Fios, which are all the services that will, from day one, have ESPN included, bundled with their cable packages. All of these add up to about 30 million households out of the roughly 65 million pay homes. So a little less than half of cable connected homes in the United States will have access, but will have the ESPN app a streaming service bundled with their service. Seems like a lot of people that's not going to have it from day one, that they're going to have to shell out to watch WWE. That really seems like a lot. Essentially, that's the overall setup right now, where they're ready to go into every home, but like the ESPN streaming service, the direct to consumer service, is going to be ready in the fall. And you can sign up if you want. And if you are part of, if you have a cable package with one of the, authorized, distributors, cable service providers, then you will be able to get that included for free in your cable package as long as you subscribe to ESPN. That's the most important thing. So those are the highlights of it, right? Again, the rest of the world, all you need is a Netflix account. Thank you very much. Good night. It's as simple as that. That's literally all you need. Now, I've got some other thoughts here. I have some other thoughts here to think. Oh, something that Brandon did bring up here, and I think I'll pull it out right here, is that the ESPN deal will not include the library. Here's the note right here. The new deal with ESPN is for 5 years and doesn't include access to WWE's large archival library, WrestleNomics has learned, though new PLEs will air on ESPN's platform. New PLEs that air on ESPN's platform will be available there for replay. So what that means, right, folks? What that means is the entire library is unsure, completely up in the air. We don't know what's happening with it. ESPN's not picking it up. Now, it could be open to another bidder, right? There could be someone else who'll be like, yeah, I'll host all of this for, whatever amount on my streaming service. I don't know who would. Because listen, as much as it pains me to think that, old episodes of Nitro will no longer be available, that we won't have access to any more World Class, won't have access to Memphis anymore at the tips of our fingers like we've had for the past, better part of a decade at this point. A guy like me is a turbo nerd. I don't like, and I'm not spending eons and eons after and looking for, I'm not spending hours a day, digging through the library, right? And there's not a lot of us who do go through the library and watch stuff. Ultimately, it's a very, very niche thing that demands a lot of uploads and a lot of categorization and metadata, and it's a big fucking deal. It is a really, really big deal to try and get all of that content onto a server to be distributed. It's a lot of work for a little return. So as much as it pains me, I'm surprised. And I don't think anyone should be surprised. And it'll probably not follow. You will not find, the entire library of Stampede Wrestling on ESPN in the future. Now, maybe they'll stay on Peacock. I mean, they're already all on Peacock, and maybe there's a deal that's set up there. I don't know. I don't know. I couldn't tell you. It's extremely sad because longtime listeners will know. I've said this so many times, saying that for years at this point. History of professional wrestling should not be in the hands of one corporation. Because, and I was saying this back in the day when we were still flying high with the network, the WWE network. I'm gonna say there's gonna come a day where if WWE's priorities pivot, and they pivot to the point where it's like maintaining this catalog is no longer worth it for us, it's just gonna disappear. And they own essentially every recording of every territory. Look, close to what? 85% easy, if not more. Maybe I'm being a little too conservative. Everything. They own fucking everything. Not as if then, someone can be entrepreneurial and start burning out DVDs and we're back to, and then we have DVDs available we can't do, it's not accessible to any means. WWE owns it all. That's frustrating because there's a lot of us who saw this coming. And again, it's not a question of this idea of, well, we have to be able to watch this every day, all the time. No, but the history of pro wrestling should be available just easily accessible and available at your fingertips. You should be able to, if you hear about a match, you hear about, someone's career and you want to find out more about it, well, you should be able to just log in, and search on the internet and easily get access. And the key word is easily get access to all of the great moments in pro wrestling, all the matches, all the big events, so that you can see them with your own eyes. Fucking shame that this is what it's come to. Look, between us all, again, I'm not endorsing this. Not endorsing this in the least. But, if I would say the key word is easily, but if you work a little harder, you can find all of these matches, because they're out there. They're on the internet somewhere. It requires a little, a little research, a little creativity. You have to put on your eye patch and peg leg and head up to the high seas. You know what I mean? Key issue, because the thing is, like, in that scenario that I just described, it's people like me and maybe even like you, the turbo nerds who want to get into this and you need to find something, and we know where to look, and sometimes it's shady, but you find what you need. Key here was ease of access, was be able to be arguing with someone who told you, there was never 18,000 people, at the Madison Square Garden, let's say, before, Roman Reigns showed up, and then you can pull up footage of Bruno. Say, there you go. And he can't say, I can't watch it. Oh, I can't, I don't have the application to open this weird file you sent me or whatever. Just like, no. I know you can. Here it is. This is what's frustrating. I'm not surprised. Look, it's the problem. It's the problem I've said. It's the problem I've talked about for a while. And, I don't know how you fix it. I don't have a solution. And the guys who could be fixing it, in my opinion, could be doing something about it, spend their days arguing on Twitter with randos. So let's say we backtrack a little bit. We think about how everything is set up now. The fragmentation of WWE's offer is huge. It's split all over the place, right? You've got Raw, again, for the US, right? You got Raw on Netflix. You have SmackDown in USA, right? And that's SmackDown / and then SmackDown ends up on Peacock, if I'm not mistaken. And what happens to SmackDown after that? Oh, that's another thing, right? And then, you get the pay-per-views on ESPN, and then you have NXT on the CW. That's part of their strategy. Look, they're trying to do like the NFL, essentially, and they're succeeding. Because this is a massive deal that they got. It's a huge deal. And all of their content is fractured all over the place, but it's a huge deal. They're able to get so much money out of it, because that's how things go these days. And here's the thing that I wanted to mention earlier, where the on Wrestling Observer Radio, Brian Alvarez reported that Peacock had made a bid to hang on to WWE on the service, and it was in the neighborhood of $270 million per year. And they turned that down for ESPN. The way that during the earnings call that TKO had yesterday, they even said out loud, we left a bigger offer on the table to go with ESPN. Why? Because ESPN will create content and will help promote better than whatever the other offer was. And a lot of people seem to think that it might be Netflix. That was the bigger offer. Because even at some point, Mark Shapiro in the earnings call said something to the effect of, "Oh, we've walked away from Netflix." Something to that effect, and he quickly corrected himself, saying, "Oh, not that Netflix had an offer." It's like, "Oh, come on now. Okay, you slipped up. Clearly, I think it makes sense that Netflix would have tried and bid for the PLEs, but no, there was no way to. They outright decided to leave the bigger offer with Netflix behind and got a smaller offer from ESPN, but saw more benefits out of it. Essentially, they pulled a Stephanie Vicaire. Look at WWE. If anything, they're doing exactly what they expect their talent to do, right? Come with us. It'll be much better here than if you go to the other places, or work for us for less. Well, they put their money where their mouth is. I'll tell you what. No, but I'm joking, but they most assuredly weighed in the extra promotional gumption that ESPN could offer. They probably weighed that into a certain value. They were probably able to value that to a certain degree, and then they were able to say, "Oh, okay, I get it. We'll get this much more, in advertising and promotion that we won't have to do anything for. So we're making less liquidity, but we're still getting a better offer overall," kind of thing. So I can understand that. Probably what happened. Mentioned NXT. So essentially, if you are a fan of the WWE in the United States, you need to have access to Netflix, you need to have access to ESPN, you need to have access to USA Network, and you need to have access to the CW if you want to catch everything. I think that's insane. I think it's insane because I don't think the product is worth that. It's all lights and fireworks and theme songs. I really don't understand the value that people see in plunking down so much money to watch all of this. I really don't understand it. See this coming. I was even fully expecting WWE to go down the pay-per-view route this year. I talked about it last year. I said, I'm convinced. I'm sure. I thought they were going to go back to people pay $60, $70 to watch the PLEs. At least at least the big five. The others, you throw them on the streaming services and whatnot, but the other ones you paywall them. I was sure they were going to do that. But no, instead, it's like join us on ESPN Plus, on ESPN period, I should say, for $30 a month. Now, there's a legitimate question that one can ask themselves, and that is after over a decade of WWE basically offering all of their programming and PLEs for $10 a month, or the PLEs anyway, right? We're talking about the PLEs for about $10 a month. What are the how many WWE fans are going to be okay to say, yeah, I'm moving forward, $30 a month and I can watch all my favorite pay-per-views. I'm going to be like, yep, this is what I want to do. I mean, and maybe this is the stepping stone that they need to move back to full-on pay-per-view. Instead of going back to immediately $60, you're like, oh, let's ease them in with 30 plus. You get all of these sports, not just us, all these sports. I don't know if it's that much of an issue. I don't know if a lot of WWE fans are already cable subscribers. Look, we'll see soon enough how this turns out, right? We'll see soon enough. we'll be able to observe all of this very, very soon enough. Whatever Evolve is on your truly say that's on it. Is it still on Tubi or is it just a YouTube thing now? I don't know. We talked about NXT quite a bit. What's going to happen to NXT and their premium live events? What is going to be NXT's streaming home for its past episodes? And where are the NXT PLEs going to air? Look, between you and I couldn't give a shit. NXT is so bad right now. Because the NXT major events, they're not included in the ESPN deal. Nick Khan said 10 PLEs, 12 nights. We've already figured that out. We're not talking NXT events. These are all WWE pay-per-views. So what is going to happen with the NXT? Are they just going to disappear forever? Or are they going to make a bigger push to have them on YouTube? Like they're doing, they did the Worlds Collide gimmick. They did the Worlds Collide gimmick. They did the, they're doing the Triple Mania gimmick too, right? They'll be airing those on YouTube. Maybe that's what they do moving forward. Right now, NXT is a grand forgotten aspect of all of this right now. Saying that they've heard rumors that they're planning to fill the Peacock void with NXT and AAA and TNA. I've heard and I've read those same kinds of rumors. Not as much with NXT, but with AAA and TNA. I heard that WWE may be filling in the void over on Peacock with TNA and AAA. Now, AAA, sure, I can understand. It's going to be, it's theirs, right? The sale is done, right? The sale is concluded. AAA officially now becomes property of WWE and their Mexican business partner Philippe. So I can see them pushing AAA. TNA, I guess, like maybe this is what the TNA president, I forget his name right now, has been talking about, since around their stand and deliver paper. No, what is it called? Battledrome. But I can't remember. I don't care. They were talking about how they were getting hype that TNA was about to have this big deal coming up, this big media rights deal, and that they were very excited about it. And I'm like, oh, okay. What could it be? Well, it could be this. It could be WWE angling to get them on the Peacock. But then it also makes me wonder, well, because TNA for years has been using or has been building, I should say, its own streaming service, TNA Plus, right? Is this just, what are the, like, what is the, if they go streaming on Peacock, right? What's the point of TNA Plus? So I don't know how conducive or counterintuitive that is. I'm sure TNA Plus is a loss, is a big loss for them. I'm convinced they're not making any money off of it. Like anything really sustainable, I'm sure that they've hit the ceiling on TNA Plus a long time ago, and it's just surviving by sheer will, I guess. Ready to scrap that. That could be a possibility. Maybe they're just waiting for the opportunity to kick TNA Plus to the curb, yet continue having access to streaming so that their fans can still be served in some way. That's entirely possible. That's entirely possible. And I don't think it's out of left field to think that TNA and AAA might be the actors here that jump in and fill the void. WWE going, listen, these are, one of these is our Mexican property, right? You can tap right into the Latino market, which is true. And I mean, AAA has been trying to break into the Latino American market for years and years. Maybe this is finally the hook. And then they say, TNA, they're our guys, they're our fellas. Here, we'll put you in touch. Whatever amount TNA makes, because, seeing reports saying that they might be getting a deal, let's say for 10 million. Is it a year? Is it per year? And people are like, 10 million. It's 10 million more than they ever had. Like whatever media deal TNA can get out of this, huge for them. Huge. Seen that, and I think it's possible. Is it going to happen? I don't know. Because there's a lot of all of these things. Look, lots of these WWE TV deals has just been coming out like straight out of nowhere. You're like, what? Whoa, ESPN? What? Like who? Like they're keeping things so close to the vest. Like you can tell these are not, the wrestling carnies that are handling these offers and are leaking shit to Dave. Clearly these are high-level boardroom executives that have nothing to do with this wrestling carny bullshit that we're used to, right? It makes no sense. Why would Peacock want fourth-tier wrestling? Doesn't know what is four-tier wrestling or not. They have no idea. Like, oh, this is WWE endorsed. And they probably had a good relationship with them. They're like, because they wanted to keep them. They offered up $275 million a year to hang on to them. So they were ready to keep them. And if TNA is fourth-tier wrestling, what do you think AAA is? Jesus Christ. And then, like, on top of that, they say, the stars of WWE sometimes show up on TNA and AAA. They're an integral part of that brand as well. The superstars, all the stars, Starzas, and Izzy Dame all show up on occasion on these brands. Not promotions, they're brands. That big deal. It's a huge deal for WWE. I'm going to ask the very cringe question, but nonetheless is interesting to think about in this circumstance. Will this have an impact on AEW? Just saying it out loud. Just saying myself. I was like, I can't believe I just said that. But yes, will this have an impact on All Elite Wrestling? I think that this is probably a bit of a danger zone for AEW. And I'm not trying to be alarmist in any way, but I do think when you take a moment to think about it, it creates an entirely different environment for AEW. And if I'm Tony Khan, I'm a little more worried about, my future. Not saying that the company will fold or whatever, but when my own media deal is going to come up, the environment right now is going to be a lot harder to navigate. Let's break this down one thing at a time. I'll give you my whole thought process here. One can assume, and we're assuming it's not necessarily a good thing to do, but bear with me here. We're just, let's role play a little bit. We can safely role play that there will likely be exclusivity clauses in WWE's contracts with with ESPN and their new partners, right? That they will have to be the only wrestling style show that will be permissible to be broadcast on their body of networks. And you're like, oh, well, ESPN is just the one. ESPN is just it's just a network. It's one network. But what if the deals go through Disney? What if this is a Disney thing? And it's unquestionably a Disney thing because, the reports were saying, the Wall Street Journal was saying, Disney's shelling out the money. So does this mean that all Disney properties will have to shut down, to say no to AEW when they start renegotiating? We know Tony Khan, during his previous round of negotiations for the most recent media deal from last year's media deal, we know he spoke with people at Disney. Is that still on the table? Because probably not. Look, let's just say all of WWE's partners right now all have exclusivity clauses. Okay? That means Netflix, NBCU, and Disney are off the table for negotiations. So what that potential, so that those are potentially three huge players that AEW does not have access to, that cannot go in, knock on the door, just, get some feelers, maybe get some talks, maybe get a number, get nothing. This has a legit possibility to hurt their leverage with Warner Bros. Discovery or Warner Bros. Or Discovery, like whatever the fuck, right? However it's going to end up. Or Discovery Sports. I don't know how any of this is going to work for WBD, right? So when the time comes around, Warner Bros. Is going to look at the market and be like, well, there's not many places you can go, fellas. That gives a lot more leverage to Warner Bros. Than it does to AEW. One thing, I think the idea of free, I want to say free, but you know what I mean. I think the idea of free pay-per-views on cable TV is a bad thing for AEW. Like Tito Santana would say, not good news. This means that on days that there will be WWE pay-per-views, people will be watching them more than they will be watching an AEW one, because the big shows will be on cable for free. So they will naturally watch. Look, it already happens right now in the world of professional wrestling right now. We've seen it multiple times. Instances where WWE has run head-to-head with an AEW pay-per-view. They've run head-to-head with them. And we've seen, or Collision or whatever. You just see with Collision. Collision takes a massive hit. Collision takes a massive hit when there's a WWE pay-per-view running at the same time on a Saturday night. That's just how it works. We've seen it multiple times. When there's a big event happening, like AEW always gets kicked in the balls when that happens. And AEW is going to be running pay-per-views on Saturdays because Tony does not run pay-per-views on Sundays during the NFL season. So there will be these head-to-head situations. And so you will have head-to-head situations where you will have unquestionably, because this is how WWE works, there will unquestionably be head-to-head events like a Full Gear or a World's End, where suddenly WWE decides that it's Survivor Series on the same night as AEW Full Gear. He has to be afraid of this. Khan said, 10 to 12 10 pay-per-views, 12 nights, but this is meant to grow. We're going to grow this. Of course they are. And they're going to try and get as many of these pay-per-views on TV. Now, let's be real. If there is football, if there are big basketball games, big finals, anything that naturally consumes a ton of market share, ESPN, I don't think, will ever privilege running a WWE PLE in lieu of a football game or a college football game or the NBA finals. Like, there's no way. That's why I think like something like WrestleMania or SummerSlam, which are in very dead seasons, as far as big attraction sports, I think they work fine. Those will be fine. So don't get me wrong, like ESPN is not going to is not just going to turn into suddenly let's broadcast everything. It's still going to be select things, and they know they're going to have things that are going to draw bigger, better, get better ad rates than WWE, and they're going to go with those first. But On the days, the moments, the events, the parts of the year where there's nothing going on. And like, you know, I think this kind of puts WWE in a very interesting position to be able to counter program maybe a little more effectively. I think the counter programming days are over. I think they might be getting worse. That's how I think the WWE things might affect AEW. And I don't think this is good news. And I don't think Tony Khan looks at this, you know, and shrugs it off. I'm pretty sure he looks at this and is like, we got to rethink our strategy. There's something here there's something we need to unlock here. Listen, you know, we're in year 1 of the deal still, right? Of AEW's new deal. We're still in year 1. We've got like what, 3 years plus left plus 1 year, one year option, right? I think that's it. I'm pretty sure that's how it's going to go, if I remember correctly. So, you know, so many things can happen. So many things can happen. Because don't forget, here's one thing. In 5 years, right, Netflix has an option to get out of their contract with WWE. You know, if the situation that they're in right now, I know it's a 10-year deal, but in 5 years, there is an option where Netflix can exercise to get out of the deal and throw WWE out the window. If it stops doing all this solid performances that everyone seems so enamored about, that they're such a great performer. Well, you know, maybe that's if it stops being that, maybe Netflix might open up for AEW to sit down and talk about. And I don't want to give you the impression that I'm dooming and glooming, okay? I know it sounds kind of like that, but I still maintain, and anyone that has a reasonable mind will have the same type of thought. AEW will always be fine moving forward. It will always have a home. It will always be on TV in some way. Tony Khan has access to infinite amounts of money, right? The promotion is not closing shop. It's not a rinky-dink operation that is bankrolled by, whatever, a pasta making, shop. What am I talking about? It's not like bankrolled by a guy who just, who won the lottery and is like, hey, let's start up a wrestling company. It goes a little deeper than that, right? Tony has access to so much money to keep this running. It's not ideal. Billionaires don't like to spend their money. Trust me. But the one thing that billionaires like less than spending money is giving the impression that they lost something, that they're going to take an L. So Tony, I'm pretty sure, would rather, dip into the reserves as opposed to just like company die out. I'm still adamant, fervent that AEW is going to be fine wherever it goes. The question is, will it be able to get good deals moving forward, better deals? They'll probably be able to get raises, but maybe not the bigger raises that they would have been hoping for, because the market has constricted around them, because WWE is spreading itself everywhere. And this is a consequence of that. AEW, like maybe being in a rougher negotiating environment, is a consequence of WWE spreading itself out and piecemealing its content. Those are consequences. I think that they'll continue to lock down something on Peacock, and they're going to do something with TNA to screw with AEW's chances. Like this, these are all also part of their strategy, trying to choke out. If you can't stomp them out, we're going to try and choke them out instead, right? It's big news. It's huge news. It's a big change for WWE. It's a big change for its fans. It will have an impact, unquestionably. I sincerely believe that it will have an impact on AEW's future moving forward. Again, I'm not saying that it's going to outright kill it, but it will not outright kill it. but it will have an impact. I think that's to think it won't is naive. How about that? And it's one of these things that time will tell. Time will tell just how deep it's going to go and how far-reaching this WWE deal is going to be, and what kind of impact it'll have on the business overall.